Hey everyone, I'm Brittany Jones Cooper, and welcome back to Build. Dear White People is a smart, funny, and thought-provoking series set at a predominantly white Ivy League university that's bubbling over with racial tension. Today, we're joined by three of its stars, Logan Browning, Antoinette Robertson, and Blaine Featherson, to discuss the show's much-anticipated second season. But before we bring them out, let's check out a clip.
Maybe someone sent you a fruit basket.
Yeah, and then they wrote the word bitch on a banana in an empowering way. Like, bitch. Okay, it's on.
Samantha.
A black woman speaks truth and society loses its mind.
You don't believe that people should hear a progressive message about race from a white person.
That's not why you're doing this. You're just doing it to get back at me.
Hey. I was gonna meet,
I'm not a white nationalist.
You want a cookie or something? Baldwin said to be a Negro and relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time.
Damn, Alec Baldwin was a genius.
Oh, hell. Isn't this campus polarized enough? Somebody's got to keep the peace.
This is Winchester. We gotta do better.
Is this a movement or a primal scream?
Both. We can't even get through a discussion without it devolving into a Maury Povich DNA reveal.
I know that look.
There is this guy.
Is this a relationship or still just a penetration ship?
Hey, girl. Wow. Wow. You gonna get that?
The African American.
The White Whisperer.
Che Guevara at Fashion Week. What? The black guy in a white sitcom. The mean gay dude who's all get it, girl.
Sorry, not sorry.
The filmmaker behind Am I Racist?
Agatha Shifty.
The cat lady with no cats.
Kirkland's Signature and Coulter.
Peace.
I'ma hit you back in a minute.
That back and forth was so good, I felt like Shonda Rhimes wrote us.
I was thinking that the whole time, but I didn't think I could say it.
Okay,
Guys, give it up for Logan, Ashley, and Antoinette. You guys, I'm so excited to chat with you. I'm a big fan of the show. I binge watched the first season again yesterday just to prepare for this interview, but I'd already seen it like twice. So you guys, this will be the second season. What was the feedback like after the first season? I'll start with you, Logan.
It was great feedback. There were mixed reviews. I'm sure, you know, people who anticipated the show being like a race baiting show, but I think for the most part, people found that it wasn't what they thought it was going to be if they were concerned about the title. And I think a lot of people really enjoyed these characters. These characters are so nuanced, they're so much fun, they're endearing, they're completely different. And I think everyone, regardless of race, can really identify with somebody in this group of people. If not, I think they're ready to tell that story.
How about you guys? Did you have any interesting feedback after the first season?
For sure. I think the coolest thing about our show is that people can, for instance, you can not be gay and still feel like you're Lionel. And I think that that's really, really awesome because we play to the human qualities of each character. And yeah, so I've had friends who were like, you know what, I'm super Lionel. And I would be like, really? And you would think that they're more Troy or something like that. And yeah, I mean, we obviously had our naysayers, but like, I mean, we love that. It's like the best part about the show.
We've had some converters too.
We've had some converters. We convert people also. We bring people over to...
They see the light.
They see the light.
In the darkness.
You know.
I mean, I've had like a lot of young girls like hit me up and say, God, it's so powerful to see these three women figure out their lives because for whatever reason, they're like, they don't know what's going on with their life. And we're all like just trying to figure life out, right? So it's nice to see... It's nice to see them feel represented when they see the three of our characters. Like, that was wonderful feedback.
Yeah, and college is such a time of self-discovery for everyone.
College is the best.
So this show
I don't want to
really
go back, though.
captures that like quest for identity. Absolutely. So for those who haven't seen the show, Logan, can you sort of break down Dear White People and your character and how that title is like her podcast and all, or her radio show and all that?
Right. So the title itself, Dear White People, comes from my character Samantha White's show, Dear White People, in which she tackles the race relations on campus. So these are African-American students navigating a predominantly white institution, and just like the world, there are microaggressions and some major aggressions and offenses that happen to them on campus, and she kind of takes the platform of being that voice. And in doing so, her and her friends all have different calls to action. Some people want to speak out. Some people think that it's better to go and do things like town halls or meet with the dean. So you see it's a great representation of the different ways in which you can tackle the same subject. And they're also just dealing with like regular things like relationships, the fun soap drama kind of stuff, you know?
How they want their grits.
Salty or sweet? Do you like salty or sweet grits?
Sweet?
No, that's what you have
she's a
cream
good
of
one.
wheat for.
Are you from the South?
Sweet. My family's from the South.
See, she's a good one.
My
She
family's
knows.
from Savannah. I'm sorry.
You're from Georgia. I'm from
Yeah.
Georgia. I was born.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Butter, salt.
The occasional shrimp. Don't quote the whole show, Ashley.
Yeah.
Antoinette, what are you? Salty or sweet?
Salty, for sure. But cocoa's sweet, so I don't understand that. That's
Yeah,
very
we're
hard
together.
for me to
Me and you,
relate
Britt.
to.
Bam.
But the show is interesting like that, and I think when people kind of get past that title, they can see that it shows the Black experience is multifaceted.
Yeah.
There isn't just one way the Black community chooses to deal with issues. For me, that was the biggest takeaway. But I know on Twitter, some trolls got after the show, and the director, Justin Simeon, actually said that helped inspire some things in season 2. So how do we see those Twitter trolls make their appearance in season 2?
Well, a lot of, I know I can speak for at least for Sam because a lot of her dialogue is specifically what happened to Justin and some of our other writers, which was so difficult for me to perform, knowing that our friend and our boss actually was treated this way. And that stuff is scary. People don't realize, like, we're all human, and that stuff affects you. It is on the internet, but that stuff gets into your spirit, and I'm glad we have a leader like Justin who used it in a positive way.
Yeah.
I think too, you know, a lot of the trolling content that we have in this season was also inspired by kids that are really young, and I think, and you know, them saying things that are just really scary and hurtful and weird. And for me, I was like, not that it's better to be a troll at 70 than 17, but it's just, no,
I'm so done. Cute troll.
No troll is good, okay? All trolls should stay under the bridge, but
Yeah.
it was a bit disconcerting for me that these kids are like 16, you know, calling people monkeys and also, like, it just, that was tough for me. The reason
It lends to the present time. Like, cyberbullying is at an all-time high now, and we couldn't not address that. Understanding that people have access to you 24 hours a day if they want to torment you or make fun of you because you're awkward and you don't really know what's going on in life. They have access to you 24 hours a day through your phone, and they can publicly humiliate you. So having this conversation about cyberbullying and the trolls and stuff like that, because our message is positive. So for us to just be uplifting like people of color and showing that the Black experience is not singular, and for people to hate on that is one of those things where, like, all we're saying is like, hey, we've watched Friends for years. Can you watch us and understand that our experiences are closer than closer? We're more alike than we are different, if that makes sense.
Right, and that backlash sort of represents why a show like Dear White People
Is needed.
Absolutely.
I mean, so this started out as a movie back in, was it 2014, I think? And that was before Black Lives Matter and all that. So now we're living under a Trump presidency. We have the NFL Kaepernick protests. We have all this stuff bubbling up. So what does it feel like to be a part of a show that's actually having some of these conversations in a time when they're probably really needed?
It feels like life imitating art, imitating life, right? Because if we watch the March for Our Lives, we're seeing millennial activists like using their voices and their platforms, and that's exactly what you're seeing in Dear White People. So the fact that this was created way before that, it predates it, it just kind of feels like, oh wow, he kind of had a premonition of where we were going.
Yeah. And you know what else? The three of us actually just talked about this last night at dinner. We're so bombarded with so much negativity as Black people, as young people, as Americans, as humans. And it's nice to be a part of something that's addressing that stuff, but making you laugh and giving you a good time and giving you good content and good stories, because we need that to keep our hearts healthy. It's really important. I'm glad we're a part of that for everybody.
Yeah, you know, for me, watching A Different World before I went off to Howard was like really special to me. It was like kind of like, it was preparing me for what I thought I would experience in like, you know, in college as a 17-year-old. And I'm happy that I feel like we can provide that to some kids in high school or in college feeling like they feel misrepresented, or they just want to know what it's like in college, and not a biased experience, but just a real experience. And we're talking about things that matter and that other people don't want to talk about. And I just feel really grateful to be on TV playing like a dark-skinned, smart, talented, funny,
Woman of color, yeah.
you know, multi-layered girl on TV. Because, you know, we're not seeing Sam's, Joelle's, and Coco's on TV.
And we did
We're
at
seeing
one
Olivia
point.
Popes,
We
but we're not
did.
seeing the
You're
Olivia
right.
Popes before they become Olivia Pope.
Amen to that.
And all of their struggles that are happening. So it's like you can watch it and identify with it and be like, oh my God, I know what it feels like to be a black face in a white space, and how having to represent your entire culture, your entire race, anything that happens that isn't particularly delightful, you're like, you're bandaged with that and the burden that could, you know, weigh on you.
I think showing young black women as vulnerable and growing and evolving is so important, because we see the Michelle Obamas, and that's the standard that everybody expects you to be, but it's a journey to get there for sure. So Ashley, you mentioned your character Joelle. She offers a lot of comic relief, but it kind of looks like in the next season we're going to get to see a little more about her storyline. But before we chat about it, let's check out a clip from next season.
Yay!
It's pretty clear the cause of death. He couldn't breathe.
The victim was black.
Dark. The joke, not the person.
The lack of oxygen was due to multiple emboli in the right lung. However, the fatal event was not emboli, but rather the thrombosis here in the large subtle thrombus. Should I tell him to calm down? The body's already dead.
The right leg was swollen, deep vein thrombosis. Victim was bedridden. Knuckles looked to be inflamed. Must be lupus. Had to have been on anticoagulants.
Unless it's antibodies.
Antiphospholipid syndrome. We make a really good team.
That back and forth was so good, I felt like Shonda Rhimes wrote us.
I was thinking that the whole time, but I didn't think I could say it.
I'm glad he didn't say it. So she cracks me up. She's been a source of comic relief. In the first season, though, we didn't see as much of her backstory. Are we going to get to learn a little bit more about Joelle?
Yes, you're gonna learn. That clip is funny. Okay, you're gonna learn a lot about Joelle. Like you get to really see like where she came from, like who her parents are, like what type of upbringing she came from, and also like really what she wants and why she is the way that she is, or why. You know, that's why I think it's great you see Joelle with the guy, because I think that's been kind of part of her plight, is feeling like, you know, she wants that. She kind of wants somebody and doesn't want to kind of be in Sam's shadow, and she definitely steps out of Sam's shadow in a major way, and I'm really, really excited about that.
Yeah, because they had her fawning over Reggie first season, and I was like, come on, that sucks. Like, so I'm happy. That clip made me so happy.
She's good. She gonna be all right, you know. But yeah, no, some really exciting stuff happens, and also just like so much sisterhood happens in the season. Like, I'm not gonna spoil. I can't spoil. Just be excited. You'll see this happening on the show this season.
And speaking of sisterhood, Antoinette, you play Coco. And Coco and Sam have this interesting dynamic where they used to be best friends, and then they sort of handled life in very different ways.
Then Joelle came in.
But then in the finale, it sort of seemed like maybe they were gonna be friends again. So what's kind of going on with Coco's journey?
I can say with Coco and Sam, they're like any friendship. They have ups and downs, and they have disagreements, and sometimes they may not talk to each other. You never know. Season 2, they might find a reason to talk to each other. But I mean, like, sisterhood is like that. We laugh together, we cry together, we call each other big head if we want to. You know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna be peaches and roses all the time, especially if it's authentic. So I can't wait till you see the roller coaster that is Sam and Coco.
One of the other things about Sam and Coco that I really love about our show is that even though Sam and Coco have their differences, at the end of the day, they respect each other. Yeah. And that is so important for us, because as women who are in this same like category of life, we're black women entertainers, it can, people think they're in competition with each other, but you're not. You're right, you're in competition with yourself. And so respect your sister, uplift your sister, inspire your sister. That's really what they do. They kind of push each other to be better, really.
And we actually have a clip I want to throw to you where you kind of see them going head to head. So if we can throw to that, and then we'll discuss it afterwards.
Core should bring Carson Rhodes to Winchester.
Wait, why Core?
James, please. Why Core?
It's the only group in Black Caucus with enough funds.
or any funds.
Things are getting really weird around here. I was in the shower the other day and I heard someone whistling, "I wish I was in Dixie." And I was equal parts scarred and scared.
But is it really a good idea to fight fire with fire? Isn't Carson Rhodes anti-police?
No, he's anti-police shooting black teenagers.
What a controversial opinion.
To be fair, that is people's perception of him.
You know what I would do if I were president?
Come on, Co. Girl to girl. You do realize that the only people you're listening to are your white friends. You are head of one of the most powerful student groups on campus now. You can't be neutral on a moving train.
This is what you wanted, right? What's your decision?
Okay. Okay, so can you explain a little bit about Coco's character and why that scene is an important one?
Well, Coco's trying to find her way through college like everyone else is, of course, but she wants to establish more of a leadership role. And given that her and Sam are somewhat pitted against each other in some regard, her thought process is, let's not continue to divide ourselves. If they're coming into our dorm, why not be before integration? Like, help them around, teach them black culture. She's not trying to make it an us versus them kind of scenario. However, given that, you know, students of color need their safe spaces, and sometimes you don't want to have to put on a veneer for the world. You want to be around people who understand you, and you don't necessarily have to explain your culture and everything about your race to someone. It's kind of, because they have so much in common, they kind of want to like just be around each other in fellowship. But once some white students get integrated into AP, then we start to see a little discord take place, and we have different ideas of what's going on.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Now that you guys know these characters a little more innately, which ones do you maybe most identify with? It could be your own or somebody else's, or are you kind of a combination of different characters in real life?
I still identify with Coco the most, I want to say. Probably Coco and Lionel. And that's such a weird combination, but I feel like in life, the world wants to put you into a little box. Like Lionel's gay, and he's exploring like the different avenues that he can take with his life. And I feel like this world tries to put you in this little tiny box, and with Coco as well, like as a woman, you can't be assertive and intelligent without people wanting to call you the B word, if that makes sense. So I feel like they're both trying to live up to people's expectations of what they want them to be, and still trying to figure out who they want to be. Yeah. So, yeah.
How about you guys?
I think maybe, look, I'm like looking, I'm like.
There's more than this, though.
Yeah.
I know.
There's Gabe, there's Reggie.
Are you a Gabe?
Are you a Gabe?
I live for
I
Gabe.
love Gabe so much.
Obsessed
Everyone
with
loves
Gabe.
He's so sweet.
Also John Patrick.
Gabe.
Maybe I kind of, this season especially, I'm kind of identifying with Troy. Like, I think that Troy is on a quest for independence that he won't allow anybody to stop. And I think that that's really dope. And I think, like, at the point that I am in my life currently, I feel like that's what I'm doing. Like, making sure that I'm doing what I want to do, and unapologetically. And if people rock with it, cool. If they don't, that's fine. But making sure that the quest for my own happiness is of chief importance. And I think that's what Troy's doing this season. And I identify with that.
Well, I feel like I've learned so much about my friends. No, seriously, like those are, it's true. And I also identify with Lionel, his quest for his quirky independence. But to be honest, I think in season 1 I tried to avoid identifying and really, really relating to Sam, because I think we're so similar that I was afraid of that. And season 2, I really embraced it. I decided not to be afraid of the similarities. As an actor, you don't want to play yourself. It's like, it's a faux pas. You just don't want to play yourself. And I think as the more we play these characters, I do think sometimes the writers pull from us, and they sometimes do become one. And I'm not afraid of that anymore. And it even though we're not the same, it actually helps me, finding empathy for Sam and how she is, makes me find empathy for Logan, and it makes me look at Logan and say, wow, I don't like that Sam does that. Does Logan ever do that? It's true. And it's a great self-reflection moment for me.
And the show covers a lot of themes from race to sexuality, gender. One that is a touchstone, I think, for a lot of people is the issue of colorism in the Black community. It's something that comes up time and time again. And the show really does face it head on, with Sam acknowledging that she has the light skin privilege. And then we just saw recently with Zendaya in the headline saying that she's Hollywood's acceptable version of Black, and sort of putting it out there in a really honest way. So for you guys as Black women in the industry, how has that issue impacted roles that you get or even roles that you choose?
First of all, I'm so proud of Zendaya for doing that, and I second what she said.
Tessa too. Tessa
Me
did
too.
an Essence Black Women in Hollywood luncheon. She spoke on it too. She did.
To use Ashley's favorite phrase, 1,000%, completely agree. I know that, yes, as a woman of color, have I had less roles than other women? Yes. But those roles that I'm getting that are specifically cast as the African American, I've noticed that. Like, I've constantly noticed that. Why are my friends who are a little bit darker than me not working as much? Why am I constantly being... And it is up to me to say, when I get a role, hey, so I'm reading this script, and it seems like you're pigeonholing yourself into a specific version. Have you considered that this role may not look like me? And it's up to the person with that privilege to make everyone else aware of what they're doing, because sometimes they're not even aware.
I think that it's also correlated to beauty. So the colorism is connected to the beauty aspect of it. So what I mean by that is I think that dark-skinned actors like myself in Hollywood, oftentimes there are roles for us, but they're not the beautiful wife of the successful husband oftentimes, or they're not the successful, like, whatever. We're playing a lot of times the maids or the helper, like the best friend of whoever might be the lead. And I think that is what needs to change. It's not that we're not getting the roles. We're not getting the roles that are perceived as more important or more beautiful or more pleasing, either aesthetically or even with whatever their character is. And that's tough. And I just think that the solution to that is we just have to keep creating our own content. We have to write for ourselves. We have to make sure that we demand that people don't see us as monolithic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just what we have to do.
It also lends to the world where to be closer to white is to be more right or more acceptable. So when Zendaya said that, I felt it with my whole heart, because there have been moments where I walked into a room like, God, you're so beautiful for a dark-skinned girl. And I was like, why did I just feel my teeth go to the back of my head? Because you just smacked me in my face. And that's supposed to be seen as a compliment. And what I love about this now, like them being able to see two chocolate women who are being depicted with such grace and such beauty, that are articulate, that are assertive, that are trying to make their way through this world and not playing just a stereotype, because the media has a way of perpetuating this negative narrative of who Black people are. And we know that we're multifaceted human beings and we should be depicted as such on television. So it's nice that we're going into an era where we're starting to see not just us being the girlfriend, best friend, but like as leads, and having the world see us as the heads of our own stories and not just supplementary characters.
And I just love that there's a word for it now, colorism, that people are actually having that conversation. I think for so long, it just was kind of brushed under the rug. So I think if anything, that's where we're at, is such a beautiful thing that we're allowed to even talk about it and have discussions like this. So thank you guys for sharing that. Let's go to the audience for a couple of questions before we get out of here.
Yes, audience? Yes.
Hi, it's nice to meet you, ladies.
Hi.
I
like your shirt.
Thank you. I was wondering, the things that you experienced in the show, have any of you personally experienced it in your actual life? And Logan, I'm a big fan of yours. I've been dying to ask you, how is it working with somebody like Tyler Perry, and is there a dream role that you aspire to get?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I'm a huge fan of Logan's for a long time also.
Me too, actually.
Me too.
Sandy. It's Sandy. I loved that job. That job actually probably saved my life and my career. Tyler Perry has done an amazing job of giving people of color opportunity, and opportunities that keep them eating. Like those paychecks kept my bills paid and my lights on. So I appreciate the business mind. He figured out how to turn this business on its head, and I appreciate that. I'll let them answer. How have you guys been?
Wait, from Tyler Perry or just from?
Oh,
sorry. About like the parallel to the show.
Yeah, has anything in the show actually happened to you in real life?
For sure. Like I like to talk about how playing Joelle at times was almost it was super cathartic and even painful at times because it was so close to what I was going through in my own life or had gone through, and it was tough. And it wasn't because like the writers knew. That's just kind of how life works sometimes. But I'll be honest, it really helped me work through those things. Similar to what Logan was saying, like she's not shying away from it. She's saying, okay, if this is what the universe is presenting me with, then I'm going to lean into it. But for sure, there's things I would get a script and be like, oh hell no, I'm not about to, but yeah, I did.
For me, I remember when I was modeling I remember wearing my hair curly and being told, you'd be so much prettier with straight hair. So I liken that to Coco seeing very successful women who are being worshipped by men and getting that attention, and her feeling like, okay, wait, if I do that with my hair, then I could get that kind of attention. And we always have these conversations about like self-hatred is completely different from a woman choosing her hairstyle. They're like two different worlds. You can be woke and wear a weave and a wig or whatever the case may be. But coming back to like Tyler Perry is like boot camp, and one of the best experiences that I've ever experienced. I was on the Halves. Lo was on what? Meet the Browns?
Meet the Browns.
And it's like you have to be on it. He's no nonsense. He's might not give you a second or third take. So if you're gonna cry, you better do it on the first
Facts.
one. You need to cross your T's and dot your I's, and I'm forever grateful for that because that kind of helped prepare me for this.
That's amazing. Do we have one more question?
Yeah.
Yes, Black
Also
Girls
like
Rock.
your shirt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Killing it with the shirt.
So, like, wow, this has just been the happiest I've been, like, just watching an interview and actually not just listening, but just feeling, seeing all your beautiful faces. Just to say quickly, Dear White People did a lot for me as, like, an upcoming filmmaker and content creator. Like, when the movie first came out, I think it just awoken something in me that I made this short film called Dear Men, which I've been trying to get Justin to see because it was just inspired off of this idea that I acknowledged that I was very intersectional and that a lot of times they try to make you either choose between being a woman and being black. And I'm like, to be honest, if I had to, I'm always black first because that is the most salient identity for me. And so what I was curious about, plus I love the way the show kind of elevates what the movie did to the next level and expands on all these different things that we're thinking about in life. I wanted to know for y'all personally how it made you view your own intersectionality and other people's intersectionality around you. Because as I started watching the show, I realized, yes, I can relate to all these different characters, but there's also different kinds of people that I see kind of being morphed in and out that also have stories too that we're just now starting to touch on, even though they've always been there.
Well, for me, there was a thing happening in Hollywood for a while where people were like, I don't want to be called a black actress. I'm just an actress. And I was like, no. I don't agree with that. I don't identify with that. I am a black actress. When you see me, you see that I am a black woman, and I'm proud of that. I don't ever want to separate that from any. If I were an engineer, I'm okay being a black engineer. That's totally fine. I think the more it seems like what you're doing, the more we lean into that rather than feeling like it's wrong to put who you are first and be proud of that, I think the better off we'll be. And I'm just really happy that you're doing that.
I mean, I for one appreciate knowing that we all have so many dimensions to us, and for such a long time we've been represented with one color. And it's so beautiful to see these intersectional individuals, to see their lives, to see their struggles, to see their experiences, and that just helps you appreciate the differences that we share, but also the things we have in common. So I absolutely adore the fact that now we're having these conversations where, like, I'm not just a black woman, I'm a black gay woman who just so happens to, it's because there's so many dimensions to us.
Absolutely.
There's an episode this season, I think, that Sam specifically says something that I do relate to, and it's that I am a black actress, I am a black woman. I also exist, Logan, on this spectrum of I'm not here and I'm not there. And for me, it can become, you feel stuck sometimes because you feel guilty and you feel proud and you're just in this interesting space. And I think for people who are in my position, which are people who don't fit black and white, that's people who are Asian, people who are Native American, Hispanic, Indian. We live in a black and white society. There are so many people in this world who get lost. There are so many people who also are white. They aren't white, but that's where they fall under. And I'm literally on that spectrum. So it's an interesting experience to dive into. And I think the more we do identify our ethnicities, those things, we're allowed to then take those things down, take those veils down, and see who is the woman filmmaker. You don't get to do that until you say, this is how I present. You know, it's important.
And not feel the need to go into one box. You understand what I'm saying? I feel like the world tries to put us in this narrow box where we have to be one thing or the other. And merely expressing that you're, I don't know, a multitude of these things is unacceptable to them because people can't wrap their head around it. But it's not for the world to define you. It's for you to define yourself. And when I said black gay woman, I wasn't talking about me. It was just an example.
But you could be, girl.
Because that would be a soundbite somewhere. And
Yeah.
now
It's good to clear.
but I'm not.
Oh.
Letting you know.
We got one more question.
Hi. So I was wondering, after season 1 of Dear White People, did you know, or how soon did you know that there was going to be a season 2? And do you know if there's still going to be a season 3? Or have you
It's like
found that
2
out?
months.
Yeah, it was a long time. Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix. Can y'all do it a little bit faster?
Yeah. Everybody else knows right away.
Hopefully you're watching Netflix. We'd like
We're
to
over
know.
here pulling our hair out.
They do something where like the show has to air before they can tell you that you get a season whatever.
Yeah.
But we like to work.
Netflix knows what's up. We gonna get a season 3.
Season 3.
See? And you know what? Ted loves us, so that's good.
I'm pushing for a season 3, but season 2 debuts on May 4th,
May
on
4th.
Netflix.
Yeah,
Check it out. Guys, give it up for Logan, Ashley, and Antoinette.
You guys are great. Thank you so much. You are awesome. Thank you.